you guys should do an analysis of your prospecting activity that you're going to engage with for the remainder of the week. Does that make any sense? So what I like to do is every single Monday, quickly, I make a quick assessment of what I have to be doing. And the number one thing that I start by is by doing my checklist that I got from the coaching that I received. And I want you guys to know that what I'm showing you guys right here is $6.99 a month. That's not for me, but that's what I was paying every single month to get this type of coaching. So I want to share it with you. And I know my coach always told me this is the one important thing. So the checklist goes as follows. Number one, ask yourself this question: is my attitude positive and am I excited? Like, are you really excited about being here and engaging in sales activities? You know, we all have those days where it's like, here we go. We're going to get rejected, right? Yeah. So ask yourself that question. What type of attitude did you come in with this morning? And again, when you're writing this stuff down, if you catch yourself with something you don't like, don't be discouraged and then don't stop what you're doing. Just move forward and understand that the second part of the checklist is, am I committed to reaching my goals daily? Some of you guys want to have those expensive things. Some of you guys want to have those houses, those nice clothing. But ask yourself, are you truly committed to reaching your goals? And here's the other question. Once you reach your goal, do you stop or do you continue? Continue, right? Yes. Are you creating outbound calls today? That's what you have to ask yourself. 99.9% of the people in the industry will not sit and make outbound calls because they don't work. However, this weekend, out of an outbound call, we were able to collect their whole financial documentation. So they work. You just got to really, really follow up. And I want you guys to know today at 11 a.m., that's what we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about the importance of follow-up and why it's important for you guys to embrace a culture of follow-up. Does that make any sense? So the next part of your checklist, you need to ask yourself, am I going to keep my personal calls to a minimum, or am I going to let my personal calls really take over my whole sales week? Does that make any sense? Because the personal calls are great. I don't know why all our friends want to catch up on Monday like if it's a job. We could do that later on Monday, you know what I mean? Like it could be 5, 6 p.m. Then you could do the follow-up. But it's like all of a sudden everybody's texting me, and I know I should be engaging in prospecting activities because they're not going to pay my bills by following up with me. I have to do my job. Does that make any sense to you guys? Also, embrace the culture of you guys have a mastermind. It gives you the 8:30 arrival and start time. It gives you really a time for you to put yourself together mentally. Even for me today, it was like such a drag just to get ready. And I felt it, and I'm like, I have to do something to follow through with this. And then I constantly remember, well, I have my 8:30 mastermind. I have a 30-minute gap where I could really, really bring my mind to where it needs to be so that I can perform at a high level. The last part of it, yes, David.
I was going to say also what I like about the mastermind is the accountability. It's kind of like you're starting a job at 8:30, like, oh, I'm running behind. I got to be there by 8:30, you know, like, kind of put some urgency into it.
Yeah, you're right. And that's very important. You have to make sure that I treat this like if it's, you know, I ask myself that question every day, like, am I performing to the ability that my clients are, because, you know, they pay us good money for a lot of the stuff we do. So am I providing that service? But yeah, accountability is the most important part of it, because you're like in a rush and it's already 8:15 and I'm still late. I could relate to that. On the checklist that was provided to me, they told me that one of the most important part was to making a commitment to help myself first, so that then I can help other people. So, like for example, Abraham, you saw you saw how easy that house sales call that we did went on Saturday. That's a result of just continuously practicing the sales script, you know, because I already know exactly what the consumer wants to hear. So when they hear from me, they're like, oh, this is what I wanted to hear. And it's like, no, it's just that I've done it so many times and I've practiced it so many times that I already know the response. Like I could almost tell you what they're going to tell me after I say something. Does that make any sense? So you guys have to make sure that you help yourself first, learn your scripts, and then you could achieve the goals of helping other individuals. Does that make any sense to you guys? So the key to your success are the 3 different things: your attitude, your approach, and then your expectations. Like first starting off, and the checklist has, first is, what type of energy are you bringing to the table? Remember, the customer does not care that you guys are having a bad day or that you have some type of personal problem. Customer cares what you have to bring to the table, and typically it's just solutions. Does that make any sense to you guys? So smile while talking on the phone. You need to smile all the time. I can hear if you're smiling or not. Like I can hear your smile on the phone. What do you think the customers hear? Smile, stand up tall. If you guys are tired and you find yourself slouching, stand up tall when you're making your sales calls. We talked about using the downswing, like good morning, how are you? Not good morning. Does that make any sense to you guys? Use that upswing. I know it's weird because it's like, I always tell you guys, why are you using that different phone voice? But that's just sales. That's, you guys are just acting. And then know your scripts. And then the last part is you have to be very excited. Right now, there's way too many people out there. Yesterday, there was a showing on a property, and I think there was about 15 showings. Like 15 showings during a pandemic. So you have to ask yourself that question. Like,
I show one in Pacoima too.
What street was it on?
It's in the Bell.
The Bell, yeah, those.
Yeah,
like,
that one. I'm waiting to the people they come in. They are in, and then another people is behind me, and more people.
That was a line.
Yeah, a lot of people there.
And it's okay to have those moments in yourselves where you have to discover, like, oh man, this is really time. Like when I get out there and I'm looking at what's happening, I'm like, man, there's all those 15 people should be represented by me. That's like my mentality towards that. What am I doing wrong that I'm not in front of the consumer's face? Does that make any sense? For the sake of Mastermind, do you guys have anything that you guys want to bring up? I want you guys to make a commitment to do 30 contacts today. 30 contacts is about 300 phone calls. I think you guys are at that level. What you're gonna do, there's RedX, there's a bunch of resources. You have to ask for them because my approach to not gonna give it to you unless you ask for it. It should take you from like 9 to 11:30. Let's do the math real quick. If you get 30 contacts and you're converting at let's just say 10%, how many of those contacts should you convert into appointments?
3.
Okay, and if your ratio is at 50%, that guarantees you 1 day of sales activity is equal to 1 escrow. But we stop. Does that make any sense? Because today what I'll teach you guys at 11 is how to properly follow up with the client and when is a good time to stop the follow-up and when is a good time to really, really move forward. I'm going to teach you guys the little things that the consumer does to tell you, hey, I really want it, but they're like, no, don't call me no more. I'll show you why they do that. And typically it's because you're not fully prepared. I'll give you an example. You were getting a lot of resistance from the client. It was kind of, I think they even ghosted you on Saturday, or they were trying to. Here we are.
I've been contacting them, like follow up. I have conversations with the lady, but I think her husband got a little worried. You know what I mean? Because it's like, damn, we're really moving forward. Right. You seen him? He was kind of like looking at her because she's the decision. She's the decision maker, basically at the end of the day, but he has to agree to it.
Right.
And when I got there, I texted her and I said, hey, just to let you know, as a reminder, our appointment's at 1. She didn't answer, and then I just went straight to the door. They have the little
open it.
No, they have that ringer.
Yeah.
They can talk, bro. They can see you.
Right.
So I ringed it once, they didn't open. I ringed it again, and then I called her. I said, hey, Linnell, I'm here. I left her a voicemail. And then the husband opened the door, like saying, like, fuck, this one knows we're here. You know what I mean? But it's just being aggressive to it, because she told me, like, hey, you're very consistent. She's like, I'm sorry I didn't answer your call. Let me give you my other phone number right before I left. So she gave me a second cell phone number that's personal.
Right. And to the average salesperson, that would have been already like, oh no, let me leave.
You know what worried me? The fact that I had to go out there. I told you, hey, we have an appointment at 1, and then they're ghosting me, and I'm like, if they don't answer this, I'm gonna look fucking bad. Like, this was the thing, I'm not really pushing it, you know what I mean? So, like, to me, I said, you know what, I'm gonna have to make it work. Like, he's already on his way, I don't want to waste no one's time. So I'm like, you
Yeah,
know?
and they are in the buying window, so that's why we need to really understand when the customers, because sometimes they tell you no, but they're screaming like, hey, yeah,
Help me,
I need
yeah.
help, you know what I mean? And that's what their specific case, but the husband's fear of lack of knowledge was what was preventing them. So all it took literally was explanation, or let's just say we would have given up on that deal, somebody else that would have done just that little customer service portion of it would have got that transaction.
Yeah, and I think what helped it too was the fact that she seen that it was the person that's on the sign. It helped it a lot. She's like, oh my God, you're the guy that's on the sign. I'm like, hey,
I'm gonna kiss your baby. Kiss the baby.
Nah, but they had a good attitude towards you coming. I think that was like a good
Everybody when
presentation.
see Jesse is changing.
Well,
so
no, it's because
much.
it's all follow-up. It's all follow-up. So, and your presentation. So let's work on that today. I'll teach you guys a little bit about the follow-up. It's a very, very small 10-minute segment. I just want to teach you guys what you guys are doing properly. And then we're going to discuss that 10-touch phone call, because that phone call 10 times is what makes it different. And then I'll teach you guys that you guys should be emailing the consumer a lot more, because everybody is on their phone constantly. So if you're sending those emails and those drip campaigns are going in, the consumer is going to have you on their top of their mind, and you guys are going to be able to close a lot more deals efficiently. Yeah.
And I just want to say something like I think I've improved in a lot of ways how to connect with the client, or try to even set up the appointment by not like asking them the buyer's prequel, but then trying to set up the appointment right away. Because sometimes I felt like I talk too much sometimes, and they're like, all right, call me later. But I'm like, nah, when are you available?
Now, yeah.
And I think that's worked, you know, like.
Yeah, that's a strong follow-up there, and that's a strong closing. Remember, our goal is to close all the time, just to make that happen. But anyway, let's get our energy high with some affirmation.